Guess who's back? The Queen is back.
Guess
Why are we doing green, brown?
Back.
Grey, brown, grey. I'm just seeing that on screen.
No, we're just great minds think alike. It's good to have you back, Olive. I hope you're well rested. We really missed you yesterday.
I know, I don't know.
There were so many legal terms, and you know our inside jokes.
Oh,
yeah, that I couldn't.
I really missed you
jokes.
yesterday. Yeah. I missed the show.
Based on Leonard colleague things, right?
Huh?
Based on Leonard colleague.
Yeah,
stuff.
he's my Leonard colleague.
We had 2 lawyers. There was one lawyer in Abuja that did not allow us to speak. He was just shouting. He was a lawyer.
Like he had vibranium in his system.
I knew he was up to something from the time. I hope he's not watching. From that hat I saw, he was wearing a leopard-like hat.
He was ready to roar.
And talking about a lot of people will be camping in front of the National Assembly. Today is showdown.
Yes, sir. Day two.
Yes. And today is very important.
It's D-Day.
Exactly, because there's an emergency plenary to look into this electronic transmission or transfer.
Well,
we'll
transmission
which will win at the end of the day.
Transfer, or what Nigerians, the number of Nigerians are asking for is that the elections be made to be seen to be credible, not just from the perspective of the lawmakers, but from the perspective of the generality of Nigerians. But we'll talk about that in detail much later. We're very, very welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us and starting today with us. We're streaming live, News Central TV live on YouTube, and your thoughts, as always, matters. We love to read from you. So please do not hesitate to drop your comments, your contributions, your objections are very welcome as well. My name is Olive MOD, and you're welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Benga Borough. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Without further ado, let's set the ball in motion and let's get the game started. We're going to start off first, no doubt, with the major and the biggest story. That story, which is what Benga started with, the guest we had yesterday. It's the most talked about story in the land. It's got to do with electronic transmission or electronic transfer. Many have said it's like transfer wire. We do not understand where we are going.
I think regardless of transmission or transfer, the most important thing that is being asked for is in real time. If you want to transmit or you want to transfer in real time,
then it shouldn't also be discretionary. It should be mandated.
Yes, so that it's punitive.
When it's discretionary, you leave room for lacuna, like what happened in 2022.
And that was a very key determining factor, you know, the fact that we couldn't have the transmission from BVAS to IREV in real time. But yesterday, the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party at the time, who's now with the ADC, Peter Obi, on Monday joined protesters to the National Assembly in Abuja to oppose the Senate's decision on the electronic transmission of election results. The protest tagged Occupy National Assembly was organized by Nigerian youths, pro-democracy activists, and civil society groups who are demanding that lawmakers reverse their position on the electronic transmission clause in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. We have a video of Peter Obi with the protesters. Let's take a look. When we come back, we'll look at what Nigerians are saying, but we'd like to start from YouTube. So head to YouTube to drop your comments.
We are just, you can see the demand. You see the demand. What we are doing is a peaceful, process to demand the right things be done. Our country cannot continue this way, where we have become negative in everything. We must now do the right thing. And that right is that small countries of the world are trying to do things right. We saw how even Ghana had to recall the High Commissioner because of he did the wrong thing during primary. And then the giant of Africa is the one that wants to do things wrongly. What is wrong in just a simple process of transmitting votes properly. Simple transmission. It's not a difficult thing. Allow the elections to go through the normal process. Whoever wins will accept. So why are you bringing us of confusion?
It was about free and fair election. Do we have Democrats who are afraid of peaceful elections in Nigeria? Nigerians, if your votes do not count, we are not moving forward. 2027, our vote must. But the most important thing is whether they pass it or not. We must mobilize against 2027. Tomorrow, National Assembly is reconvening and they will meet us here until the right thing is done. We thank you, our leaders who came to show solidarity with us, and we say, Aluta.
And that is the video of His Excellency Peter Obi joining the young people to protest. They are, of course, occupying the National Assembly. You could see Peter Aka leading the chants there. Peter Aka was here on the show last week to speak about the same issue. And he's been at the forefront of calling for electoral reforms for a while now. And he's been championing and advocating for this, always saying our votes must count. That's been what he's been advocating for. We'll head to, I don't know if we should take a few comments on YouTube first. All right. I commend Peter Obi for his continuous support towards a stronger democracy. If this is what pretense looks like, I don't mind. He has been the center of conversation since he declared ambition, Ibisiki says. Thank you very much, Ibisiki, for that comment. And just to build up from where Ibisiki stopped, seeing Peter Obi there has a political relevance. Now, there are some who would argue that it is for political aesthetics and he's taking advantage. But the counter argument would be, why can't the others do the same as well? Why can't the others, do the same thing for political aesthetics? Why can't they come out and show their support? Because at the end of the day, having the election transmitted in real time will benefit all those running for office. Because what we'll see is there'll be less cases of court, everyone saying go to court. There'll be less cases of disagreements with the election results because everyone can see. It's not a situation of INEC says. Everyone can see that this is free, fair, and credible. But what Peter Obi is doing by virtue of being a part of this thing is that he's establishing himself as a strong opposition voice that aligns himself with the people. That's what he's been, that's what this is saying. There are those who would argue that, again, it is pretentious, but the response to that would be, everybody do your own pretense. Let His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar come out and pretend as well. Let Rotimi Amechi come out and pretend as well. Those are some of the pushbacks that many would argue against. But the thing is, how much impact? Now, this gives some weight to the protest because, of course, Peter Obi is not a small fish. He's no small figure in political conversation. So this will give some weight to the argument about the argument for the inclusion of real time in the clause. What we do not know, however, is how the National Assembly will react to this.
Anyway, good news is, aside from Peter Obi, one thing I tried to highlight, I tried highlighting yesterday while looking at it. I mean, if you're going to write a story from a journalist's point of view, you cannot but write about the politicians who were there. But another thing I appreciated is the fact that when you sometimes try to put a story together, if there's a way you can take away the politicians from the protest, and it is very key. And let me mention why I say so. Nigerians, even while having a conversation yesterday, it's about the people. It's about the people first. We've seen people try to, let's politicize this, do that. No. A few persons online yesterday had spoken. Omoyele Sowore had commended the people for coming out to protest. People, sadly, there was also a counter protest. You did have some people who wore the Peter Obi t-shirt and tried to join them, and they were found out. And they said, "Come, who are you? Where are you from?" And they couldn't answer. They were lost. And then all of a sudden, there was a scene where area boys had come in as well. Area boys, you saw them thugs. They were coming and so on, which is usually the trend and so on. But my point is, this is what we're saying. Whether we like it or not, we live in a country where the legislative must understand that they are there to carry out laws, to look at the laws and ensure that they do them accordingly to the Constitution. But when they start hobnobbing with the executive, this is what you get. And it's clear. And that's why Nigerians have trooped out. And today they're also going to be there. They said they will be there. When Sowore said he was going to join, a few other persons said they will join. And that is what is going to happen today. But like Benga also said, today is D-Day. Let's get to see what the Senate would do if they would decide to say, listen, we'll listen to the voice of the people because the people are the ones who put us there. And we'll also listen to you people because we are here to make laws for the people. It will show today, and Nigerians are patiently waiting.
That's what you say, Vox Dei, Vox Populi in
Vox-
Latin.
the voice of the people is the voice of God.
And I do agree with you that, I mean, the people's will should prevail. And politicians that actually go to protest, their values or their sentiments align with the people.
Exactly.
That's why they are
That's what I wanted
supporting. It's not because of...
That's why I
I mean, people
slightly-
might misconstrue it as
I
cheap
slightly
popularity,
disagree.
but they align.
Don't get me wrong with politicians being there. I'm saying, first of all, it's the people. Don't call them
Yes,
politicians.
okay.
So you know why?
The people first.
I agree.
Because-
Politicians
because
should not
let me go
hijack
back. Let me
the
shock you
movement.
guys.
I don't know
Wait.
that politicians can hijack this thing. You know why?
Let me-
Because
if
at the
You
end of the
remember
day,
Occupy
Olive,
Nigeria
you
so many years ago? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
Thank you.
Pastor
2015.
Tunde
Linda.
Bakari, all of them hijacked
Were they not all
it.
there, Olive?
so what I'm saying is, politicians being a part of it is also for their benefit, because if all three of us were running for office and this is passed, where the reform is passed to reflect that results will be shown in real time, what that means is you, me, and Joe cannot argue with the results because we can see that it was translated in real time, transmitted in real time. So that way, I won't feel cheated if Joe wins. Joe won't feel cheated if you win, because you can say that CEO.
But then
it was
there's another
transmitted in real
argument
time.
to it, that real-time transmission of election results, it would minimize cases of electoral fraud, but is it foolproof?
No, there's nothing that is foolproof. There's no. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
We'll get there.
If you have been doing transmission or
Transfer. It's transfer.
for years, exactly, you've been doing transfer for years, and still the last time people can generally argue that they can say that it was a credible election was in the 1990s. Then maybe it's time to try something else. If MKO Abiola is the most generally accepted free and fair election in Nigeria, June 12 election, and we're in 2026, then maybe it's time to try something new and go with the will of the people.
Okay.
So anyway, let's head to X. Nigerians have definitely shared their thoughts about it, and let's see what Nigerians are saying about it on X.
Comedian Koboko says, my vote must count. Senator Akpabio passed the bill. We want free and fair elections. That's what he says. Let's see if we can get more tweets. Nedu Annie says, Nedu Annie, okay, Annie, sounds very familiar, says, Peter Obi is leading the protest. Where is Malam Nasir El Rufai? Where's Atiku Abubakar? Where's Kwankwaso? Where's Chibuike Amechi? Where are other opposition voices? All right, moving on. Ben Kingsley Nwashara says, now that Peter Obi has stepped out to lead the protest, where are all those voices that kept demanding he should come out and lead one? Okay. All right. Dr. Yudusa Tanko, who was there with Peter Obi, says, enough is enough. The Nigerian people are demanding real-time transmission of results and comprehensive electoral reforms. Our votes must be protected, our results must be respected, and our elections must be free, fair, and transparent. We say no to glitches, no to rigging, and no to stolen mandates.
I'll come back to that,
Democracy
glitches.
belongs to the people, and the people's vote must count.
But one
Let's take another one.
Let's take another.
Maurice Moyer says, not sure any APC member or supporter joined the protest today. Tells you all you need to know.
All right, so speaking about glitches, on YouTube, there are comments. Mokuye Chukwemeka says, I'm still asking, what caused the glitch in 2023? He also says, God bless everyone in the struggle for a better Nigeria. Peter Obi joining them was massive. Where are the others? Melvin Oreawo says, why are we coming behind in everything? Did you see South Africa and Ghana display their results transparently for everyone to see? It's disappointing that we can't transmit votes without delay. Since Mrs. Johnson. Anyway, these are the comments that we can read. Please keep more comments coming in and we'll continue to take them. But Lenin, I must take Lenin's comment. He says, what are they afraid of? These people have everything. More governors, senators, etc. So if they are doing well, they should pass the bill.
Absolutely. One more thing I wanted to point out before we move on to our next wake-up story is why the criticism. In criticizing the 10th Assembly, they single out Senator Godswill Akpabio.
Because
I mean, he's first amongst equal. He's Senate President. Does not mean he has 109 votes. So why
they criticize him first? Because it's just like their ministers. They are members of cabinet. They are other governors. But whenever people want to say anything is going wrong, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not the governor of the FCT. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not the one running the aviation sector.
So on easy lies the head.
Exactly. You are the one that carries the crown, right? And if you watch when it was passed. There were people who criticized the manner in which he said it. It was very hurried, it was very brief, and he just said, okay, all in favor of us sticking to the 2022, all in favor of transfer, say aye, the ayes have it back. Typically, for something that carries as much weight, many expected that
shouldn't even go to a voice vote.
Yeah.
I think why he's being criticized is because of the process it followed. One, there was a meeting on X, and the senators spoke. They had a committee. There was a committee that was formed to look
And they had
into
agreed
it.
on something.
They had agreed on it. So that's why they are pointing fingers at the Senate president. They had agreed on it. Everything was passed, approved. They said 85% of the senators agreed. And when it now got to time for them to deliberate and pass into law,
It was not what I
that is when Senator Mungoro said, please, they should change that transmission to. And as a sitting Senate president, he didn't wait to feel the pulse of the people or possibly look at the document he had to say, is there any reason? They said there should have been a debate on it. Why are you asking for this? But that's not what we have here. Does anybody any reason? But he said, okay, all who agree. And another thing we must highlight is the fact that if we take note, the seats were scanty. That house wasn't full. It was scanty. And I wonder, I think it's high time National Assembly or Senate have an agreement that when you want to discuss weightier matters, ensure that the house is at least 95%.
These are people that had vacation
full.
For how many days? They were
But
away.
what the Senate rule
Nobody's
says
talking
if you
about that.
have a quorum.
Yeah, we agree on that quorum. But when we're using quorum. This is a national
again,
importance.
I'm saying that if you
Of national
understand the
importance,
weight
rather.
that line carries, that singular provision carries, the weight it carries because an election, the perception of the freeness and the fairness of an election go a long way to shape how people frame the democracy that any country runs. Our elections, until Nigerians can say we have a free, fair, and credible election, then our democracy will always be judged poorly. So if they saw the weight that it carried, our elections carried, and the weight that that particular reform has to carry when it comes to talking about our elections, then they would have treated it with a lot more care, a lot more attention.
We'll see that today. We're expecting a full house. We did see the transmission, the letter that was sent out to senators. It says of utmost importance that your presence will be needed there. And I believe Nigerians too have been calling their representatives and senators that, look, you better do what we want. So we should expect a full house today.
We should.
And it might also be very rowdy and contentious. So all eyes will be on the National Assembly.
I see a lot of closed door meetings. If you ask me, I mean, let's start looking at what may happen. What I think will happen is the committee, the Senate committee, sitting on electoral matters, would definitely have to speak up and say this is what we agreed.
And they speak with one voice.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if what they noticed was that the documents, the fear here is that the document they say was eventually circulated was not what they agreed on.
Similar to gazetted
exactly,
and
the gazetted and non-gazetted story, the tax. Which one is the tax? Nigerians have shifted, though. When the tax starts now, we'll still not.
This whole thing
can
is
you
not
imagine
hard.
that?
But why the
Till
10th
date,
Assembly? Why?
Nigerians
This is
cannot
the first time
download
in
the
this.
tax document.
You know what? This thing is not hard. The Senate is going to sit today. No wahala.
Anyway,
We're going to bring the
let's leave
update
that.
on that. At
Let's
the end
leave-
of the
let's
day,
wait.
today will be a huge determinant of how seriously they take or do not take Nigerians' requests. But let's move on to another conversation. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has described America's Christmas Day airstrikes on Islamic militants in northwest Nigeria as, quote-unquote, a blessing. She noted that the move signaled her husband's government's openness to further U.S. involvement in combating insurgency and criminal gangs. Speaking with Fox News Digital during a week-long visit to Washington, D.C., she said, and I quote, "The intervention of the U.S. was quite a welcome development. Nigeria is looking forward to collaboration. We are still expecting that there will be more." And there has been a flurry of interpretations about that. There are those who assume that she's saying that they're looking forward to more would mean that they're looking forward to more airstrikes. But it may not necessarily be more airstrikes. It may be that they're looking for...
More what?
Wait, are you looking at me like that?
No, I want you to land it so
More
I know whether
collaboration.
you have fully joined the politicians or not. Because you want to start changing English for me. Like I did not go to school.
they're looking forward to more collaboration between Nigeria and the US in fighting insecurity. But I don't know what it is. Head to YouTube or streaming live on News Central TV. Go and drop your comment of what you think the interpretation of this statement is. Let's take a look.
You know, at times, who would have, you know, you said President Trump recognized me. Who would have thought that would happen, to even say the least? So when you look at that, you know, I'm getting global recognition in all of it, you know, despite, and that is what life is all about. If something is going to be good, it will come from, you know, the rebels, you know, and it starts like that. And then we have that attention, we have the conversation going, and we expect, you know, there will be more, you know, it's going to yield a better fruit for us, and both for us and also America.
President Trump had words of praise for you this morning, but there are still some U.S. lawmakers that believe that there is a, as they call it, Christian genocide going on in Nigeria, and they've been critical of the government for not doing enough. What do you say to that argument? What do you tell them?
You know, we've been able to educate them more about the situation on ground. We live in Nigeria. We know that, you know, this is a democracy, and we are getting close to re-election, and there will be a lot of potholes of the beliefs they want the outside world to know. And we can see that with this government, we're just out of a lot of economic crisis that we inherited, because this is the first time the government of Nigeria will remove fuel subsidy. We were producing oil, but we were not refining them. So now Nigeria, we have refined products, and we're not importing fuel like before. So our exchange rates are stabilizing. The country is moving forward. We're trying to make sure that insecurity we can tackle. And the president has even changed the service chiefs. You know, they've replaced them with new ones. So we're looking at reforms. In November, because of what is going on and the world concern about Nigerian Christians, the government, my husband declared a state of emergency on the 26th November 2026, and on insecurity. And by that, what did he do? He had to ask the police inspector general to recruit additional 50,000 police officers, and then the soldiers 24,000 officers, so that they can help in, you know, to secure insecurity. And not only that, there are 10,000 forest guards that were not carrying arms before. It said they should be armed so that they can secure the forest where all those terrorist groups, you know, take hiding, and so that, you know, and also the bandits and people that are, you know, killing for ransom or asking people, kidnapping for ransom rather. So those are the target. And also not only that, 11,566 police officers that were under VIP assignments have been recalled. So that, and they've been sent to all the hotspot areas in Nigeria, like Plateau State, Benue State, Taraba, and also other communities that they felt that they needed. So, and that's what, you know, has been happening. So we hear what the world is saying. We are concerned about our people's safety. Nigeria is a country that, you know, encourages freedom of religion, and which is entrenched in our constitution. And we are trying to make sure that even investors, when they come to Nigeria, because our, you know, economic growth is rising steadily, and then we want to make sure that, you know, we can do that. And there's so much work to be done. So we are not ready to blame past administration, because when Nigeria was in the boom age, we didn't really invest well. So, and this is what...
So a number of questions readily come to mind when you hear that interview. You know, there have been questions as to, one, in what capacity is she delivering the interview? Is she delivering the interview in an official capacity? What many would assume that given information about Nigeria's security status should be done by certain personnel who have been tasked with actually protecting Nigeria's...
those whose responsibilities.
Exactly. We have, there are a number of them that maybe should be able to have this kind of conversations. You know, the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defense Staff, there are a number of people within that
I mean,
capacity.
as a Nigerian citizen too, and who happens to also be the First Lady, she has the right to her opinion, and I don't think she was speaking officially on behalf of the government, but she was just airing her opinion and noting things that have happened in the last few months. And
Yes,
steps
she's not
for
just
the
a
government.
Nigerian citizen.
So I guess the question
she's not
is,
just a regular Nigerian citizen.
it's from the interviewer, rather.
Right.
That
So the moment
should
you knew
have
that you are
asked-
granting an interview, you would understand that you are, whatever you say will be interpreted as you speaking in an official capacity. It's just like when Bayo Onanuga tweets. People are asking, are you tweeting in the capacity of the special advisor to the president, or you are tweeting as Bayo Onanuga? So you must recognize that when you are in certain positions, anything you say will be interpreted as an official statement. And the question is, official statement in what capacity?
And it's already,
That's
I
what-
mean, if you follow the conversation on
Yes.
social media, so many people are interpreting it as, you know, government policy and official statements.
Exactly. And she, to the best of our knowledge, she does not have an official security title to be able to discuss these kind of conversations on the international scene. Now, there are those who have also looked at it from the perspective of the fact that she is, you know, because of the genocide, the Christian genocide allegations that have been leveled against Nigeria. And of course, we're still seeing the calls are still getting stronger and stronger. There was also a report of her being refused a platform. Tony Perkins, I believe, said that he refused
discussed that
to
on
grant
Wake Up yesterday.
grant her a platform, that she wanted to come and talk about what the position is. And when things like this come up, Nigerians, of course, give a side eye, a number of Nigerians, because you go back to hearing how the government tried to pay to lobbyists to be able to clean its image.
I mean, it's already,
when it comes to
the work is in process.
so are we more concerned about our perception or how the West perceives us, or are we concerned about protecting the lives of citizens? What is happening in Kwara State? There have been reports of people being bundled and burnt and killed. There's another report of them receiving another letter. People are fleeing their homes. People are going to bed in their houses, not certain, you know, that they will wake up alive. And if they wake up, they're not certain they will sleep in their own homes. Nigerian citizens are becoming internally displaced persons. It's happening in Kwara. Are we more concerned about optics, or are we really concerned about dealing decisively with insecurity? These are some of the concerns that have been raised. But let's see what Nigerians are saying, and then we'll come back and share some thoughts here.
Sarcasm King says, asking Trump for more strikes in northern Nigeria while calling the Christmas Day bombing a blessing is certainly a strategy. It's bold to ask for foreign military to do deliverance on your own citizens. I'm sure the voters in the north will find this theology very comforting ahead of 2027. Interesting take there. Omotayo says, while the First Lady's praise for the Christmas Day bombings as blessings and her desire for more strikes on the Trump show proactive diplomacy is essential to consider the long-term effects on sovereignty and civilian safety in northern Nigeria. International support is welcome, but sustainable peace requires addressing root causes like poverty and governance. This could be a game changer if handled carefully. I agree with the latter part of that tweet. Mr. Phillipson says, why can't we handle this internally? What is the reason for the heavy budget of the military if we can't defend ourselves, if you are outsourcing defense to America? Yeah, so there we have it. I mean, that's all. But just before we move on to other issues, I respectfully disagree with the First Lady of Nigeria saying that the Christmas Day bombings were blessings. Nobody, no country will be happy to see your sovereignty violated, albeit in the form of a partnership. And we saw the communication that came from President Donald Trump. Our sovereignty was violated, regardless of how you paint it. Because if you had done your homework in the first place, if they had stopped politicizing these killings and playing politics and lip service to insecurity, the United States will have no reason to bomb your country in the first place. So let's fix up and sit up and do what is necessary. I'm not very comfortable with other countries putting their hands
inside your own soup.
And our soup and our affairs. We're an independent
It's
country.
a lot, but let me just mention here that I think for me personally, I think the First Lady has the right to speak on all of the issues. The reason is because from the presidential point of view in communications, she'll be briefed before she traveled. She was briefed. And she was briefed because she was going on a tour. She went for the breakfast prayer. They had set up arrangements for her to be on different TV stations. One of them was the Washington Watch, which denied to grant her that opportunity. Fox had to do that. So she was briefed. So she had that prepared for her to speak. And again, she's the first lady. There's nowhere that she enters that she will not be asked multiple questions about her country. It would be wrong for her to sit down. If she sits here, we're going to ask her all questions.
No, she went to the media houses. You will go to them, right? So
it depends. It depends.
You can decline.
So you have a lobbyist whose job is to clean up and arrange. So one of the things for PR is to arrange interviews as well, whether you go there or they come to you.
You know what? We'll deal with this conversation in detail much later
there's a lot.
This morning.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. A group of protesters have stormed the gates of the National Assembly complex in Abuja amid rising public anger over the ongoing electoral amendment bill. They are demanding that the bill explicitly include a clause mandating the electronic transmission of election results from polling units to the National Results Portal, saying such a move is critical to strengthening transparency and credibility in Nigeria's elections.
The protesters say recent actions by lawmakers risk watered-down reforms that could undermine confidence in future polls, insisting that results must be transmitted in real time and without ambiguity in the law. While responding to the concerns, Senate President Godswill Akpabio denied claims that the Senate had removed electronic transmission from the proposed amendment, insisting that the existing provisions in the Electoral Act of 2022 were retained.
The protest highlights growing frustration among Nigerians over electoral reform efforts ahead of the 2027 general election, with many saying that transparent results transmission remains a cornerstone of credible democracy. To help us unpack these developments for what they could mean for Nigeria's democratic process, we're joined by public affairs analyst Dayo Akintobi. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning
welcome
to you
to
in
you.
the studio. Good morning to you in the studio. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Yes.
All right, so we know exactly what triggered this protest, including the phrase transmission in real time. First, transmission, transfer. But let's get your general sense of why this is such a big deal, or maybe why you think it shouldn't be a big deal.
It's a big deal because there's large-scale discontent with what happened in 2023 in the elections. And essentially, people don't want a repeat of that in 2027. Nigerians are interested in credible, transparent, and results that can stand the test of integrity. And there seems to be a bitter taste in people's mouth that in the past, votes have not counted accurately the way they should. And they see this technology as a panacea, as a solution to at least assure that results are not tampered with, that results are not altered between the polling booth and the collation center, which historically is where the adjustments have taken place. Having said that, I'm personally aware that INEC has had issues in the past with attempting to do this electronic transmission of votes. So in fact, in trying to utilize technology generally. So for me, I think the solution, as opposed to the semantics of electoral reform, the real solution lies in bolstering our technology in such a way that by the time we are insisting on mandatory electronic transmission in real time, that INEC has the capacity to do that. I'm not sure that as things stand today, INEC can make that happen. So I think what we should have been looking at all this while is how do we fund INEC? Look, for example, I think as far back as 2022, Elon Musk's Starlink, which is a satellite-based internet provider, has been available in Nigeria. Expensive, yes, but available. With a satellite-based internet service, the most rural of rural areas can get network.
You won't need cell phone towers.
No, you don't need masts.
Connects to space.
Absolutely. So even riverine areas, rural areas, mountainous areas where connectivity and network signal have been challenging, if you deploy the right type of technology, we can make INEC able to do this. So I'm worried that we're putting the cart before the horse by insisting that this should be implemented now when I know INEC doesn't have the technical ability to do it.
can't both run at the same time?
They should. I don't think you should throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think these are just excuses, that the semantic gymnastics we've seen in terms of real-time transmission, transfer. I think that's just excuses, really. I think the wherewithal exists to do both at the same time. 2027 is a ways away. I think as part of INEC's budget or as part of the Ministry of Technology, what's that ministry, Boso Tijani heads?
Yeah.
That ministry could undertake this to make sure, even if it's just for INEC's purposes, it might not be commercially viable at this time to make internet available, that expensive type satellite-based internet available everywhere. It might not be commercially viable, but for INEC's purposes,
And
I
the
think
places they've identified as having network challenges.
7 states.
Yes.
There's 7 states. They can actually deploy that technology to those places to now make sure that there can be real-time transmission electronically of votes as we do, because it is important for Nigerians to have confidence in the process. Part of the reason why this government has a crisis of credibility in the public is because a lot of people are not satisfied with the way they came into office. 2023 left a lot to be desired in terms of the electoral process. And the Supreme Court essentially put a dagger in our heart when they said, look, the law as it stands today does not mandate electronic transmission. It's up to INEC to transmit the way they want to. And that's why there's this clamor now that law must be updated. But I think it should be updated in consonance with extant realities. Our reality today is that we don't have the technological know-how. Also, as an aside, I don't think electronic transmission of votes is the end-all and be-all that will kill all elements of cheating and rigging. It will do some part to restrict. But those who will rig will still rig. In fact, there's an argument.
And there's still vote buying too.
Of course, there's vote buying. There's the issue of the judiciary. There's the
beavers.
there's the security forces. There's beavers. There's so many other aspects where rigging can occur. This is just one. So as we're trying to plug this loophole, we should be looking at all the other areas.
So don't give them expo. They might be watching.
Let's join our correspondent who is in Abuja, by the way. Idong Joseph joins us from the Abuja studios. He's been following closely. Yesterday, you also covered the protest on ground where everyone was indeed chanting, calling on the name of the Senate President. Today marks D-Day. Give us an overview of what happened yesterday, walking into what will happen today.
Well, good morning to the team in the studio. Yesterday, it was supposed to be a protest by civil society organization. Lots of them that will focus on electoral matters. We are supposed to protest yesterday, and they arrived to the venue, that's the National Assembly's gates, as early as 8 a.m. And they started the procession, just chanting songs of solidarity, seeking electronic transmission of election results in real time, saying that they don't want what happened in the last general election in 2023 to repeat itself, where the Supreme Court said INEC has the sole right to prescribe what means it wants to transmit election results. And so that was what the songs they were chanting all through till around 10 a.m. when Peter Obi came around. And when the presence of Peter Obi, when he came, some Nigerians who had joined these civil society organizations in this protest started shouting, chanting songs, hailing him, and they now shifted side and went to meet Peter Obi. And Peter Obi, noticing that these civil society groups were here, and he tried to start a conversation with them, because he walks up to them, and when he noticed that they were not giving him that attention, so he had to leave. And those some Nigerians who had joined the civil society organization, as I said, left and went to Peter Obi, and Peter Obi walked up to the gate, which was locked as at that yesterday, because they didn't want the security at the gate there, didn't want people to go into the complex. And at that point, that was where we got to we had an interview with Peter Obi, and the same demand the civil society organizations were making, that was the same demand Peter Obi was also making, that he doesn't want the issue of glitches to repeat itself again in this election. And when these civil society organizations who earlier had scheduled this protest noticed that Peter Obi has taken the day they had a meeting, and in that meeting, at the end of the meeting, I started seeing some of them leaving, and they all dispersed and left the place. And after then, Peter Obi also left with them. And that was it. That was basically what played out yesterday. But for today, we hope that they are going to resume. But what we are seeing is that there is supposed to be a special session in the Senate, of which we hope that, from what I've heard so far this morning, is that session is regarding this Electoral Amendment Act, which has raised conversation all around. And that's what we're seeing today. And we hope the protest is going to happen, but it's not clear if the protest is going to hold today because of the sitting that is going to be holding in the Senate this morning.
Okay. Just to ask again, so we can get back into the studio and continue our conversation. We did hear that during the protest, there were some persons who infiltrated the protest, street urchins, persons who were dressed in Peter Obi t-shirts, trying to infiltrate and act like they were part of the protesters just to wreak havoc. Can you confirm that as well?
Well, from what I noticed yesterday, because the whole area, the National Assembly complex, the area there was filled with security operatives from the police, army, civil defense, and even immigration. A couple of them were there with their vans. So in terms of elements trying to infiltrate the protest, I didn't see any of that. But the only thing I can say is that when Peter Obi came, some Nigerians went and were on his side supporting him, and that was the only thing. But in terms of infiltrating it, I didn't see anything of such. And even if it was going to happen yesterday, there was enough security on ground to handle whatever situation was going to occur yesterday. All
right. Thank you so much, Idong Joseph. We look forward to join you again, possibly in the subsequent programming, so you can give us updates on what's happening, especially live action, if there will be protests, if there will be any protests today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, all right. I believe there will be protests because the fact that they are deliberating in the National Assembly complex does not mean
people will be waiting for them outside
until they see the result. And Peter Obi was on our sixth. He was also on our 6 o'clock news, the sixth report. There was a guest, and he did say they were going to protest today. It's just to keep them on their toes, and until you get the expectation you want from Nigerians. Now, back to you, Mr. Akitobi. You mentioned something about, and Senator Godswill Akpabio also mentioned this about the capacity of INEC to carry out real-time transmission of election results. And critics have said, look, is your onus to pass the law. It's not for you to check whether INEC has capacity or not. INEC has not told you they can't do it. So the National Assembly and Senator Godswill Akpabio, was it an overreach for them to say that, you know, INEC doesn't have the capacity to do this?
Well, they do have an obligation to make sure that the laws they pass are actionable, that they
are realistic.
Yes, they are realistic and they conform to today's realities, because it's pointless passing redundant laws that can't be implemented. So they do have some obligation, but I don't think it carries to the extent of them proscribing a law simply because of possible challenges. What you do is you address the challenges. You pass the law, you address the challenges to resolve whatever issues are at stake in a way that can... See, it's the outcome that matters. It's what we are seeking to achieve. What are we seeking to achieve here? We want credible, transparent elections that have integrity, that will pass muster with the people. And whatever steps are necessary to do that, an electronic transmission of results in real time has been identified as one of the ways that this can be achieved. So the solution should not be making excuses as to why it can't work. The solution is to proffer ideas about how it can be made to work. So I'm happy that the public is awakened and that there's political consciousness to the point that a protest would take place on account of a single word in a law. and that people are that engaged and that concerned, because remember, we've had a lot of apathy, voting apathy. The number of people that are politically engaged seems to be dropping precipitously. So if people are this concerned about the integrity of the electoral process to where they're willing to come out in droves to protest the exclusion of something they feel is critical, I think it's a good step for our democracy that more and more people are getting involved.
So let's also now talk about the involvement of His Excellency Peter Obi in the elections. Of course, the analysis have started to come out. Many have applauded his courage. They have said that what he's done is a step in the right direction because they believe that this was a major issue with the elections in 2023. There are all the others who have criticized it, referring to it as political theatrics. But there have also been calls for other political leaders, like the likes of His Excellency Alhaji Atiku, His Excellency former Governor Rotimi Amechi, and all the other big wigs, the big names, to come out and join the protest. What side would you typically lean toward?
Well, I don't think it's even just the opposition. I think even APC existing members and those who are already in political office should all stand up and make their voices heard in terms of this, because to have credible elections is to the benefit of each and every aspirant or political player, because they can then know they are standing on a legitimate platform and there are no questions about how they got into office, which now gives them a clear mandate to represent their people without fear or favor. So I was rather disappointed that we didn't see more of the political players stand up yesterday and say, yes, this should be done. There's a possibility that because the Senate has called for an emergency meeting today, and clearly it's to address this issue, because if you look at the run-up to the passage of the bill, they had 2 executive sessions. One lasted 3 hours, one lasted 5 hours, and you could tell that they were grappling with this knotty issue, because the ad hoc committee that they set up had gone out, done public hearings all across the country, had taken and collated feedback, all the viewpoints from the feedback, and came with a recommendation that even the House of Representatives had passed this thing with electronic transmission of results in real time. So when that ad hoc Senate committee came back with its own recommendations, clearly the recommendation was, let's pass it with that clause in there. But obviously there was some measure of opposition. That's why they had those 2 executive sessions where they shut the media out, shut the public out, and they had this. And for it to have lasted that long, it means it wasn't an easy resolution. And when the matter came up now in the open, one senator proposed the motion to leave real time out. It was seconded, I think, by Barao, the Senate deputy president. And from there, that happened. So at the end of the day, I think what is most important for all Nigerians, both the players and the electorate, is that whatever means are required to make sure that elections pass muster, even this electronic transmission that we're really getting emotional over, those who have the technical know-how can subvert it. That's the truth. But it's not the only means by which elections can be rigged or can be manipulated. So let's not get overly carried away about this one single clause. I think there's a whole plethora of issues that need to be addressed to make our elections airtight, foolproof, and not vulnerable to manipulation.
Is there any other outlet or any other concern that has more weight, that carries more weight and more ability to tilt the election or to present it as not credible than this provision in the electoral reform?
Well, there are issues that I think the Act addresses that will help reduce the prevalence of those issues you're talking about. Things like, for example, penalty for electoral offenses. I think that's a big one. I think that's a big one, because in the past, I can't recall that I've ever heard anybody who was arrested for vote buying or arrested for ballot snatching or arrested for any of the other electoral offenses being arrested, prosecuted, and punished. Even if it has happened, it's usually the street level operatives and not, and those people are definitely working for somebody. They're not the ones who are snatching ballots for their own purposes. So I think that beyond electronic transmission of votes, look at issues like even the beavers, for example. That where at this time there's a clause in there that says if you have not been able to pick up your PVC, you should be able to download it. It has a QR code. That QR code should be verified at the point of voting, and you can use that downloadable paper to vote. So these are different things. I know you're asking that what is more important in terms of being able to compromise the election, and I say all of the elements. There's so many, even just police, security forces during election. They are critical because if they are not there to assure our safety and security and our freedom people won't go out.
And then you had 2023 where you had people were walking around with canes and flogging people and telling people don't come out.
Yes.
If you come out, you'll be flogged.
Yes.
Those issues too can be looked into.
Absolutely.
And then the police officers as well, like you've mentioned, oftentimes they just sit down at the polling unit. No weapons are allowed. And you have just one person, only one person manning a polling unit.
Yes.
When incidences occur, you see them also running, like we did see videos. The police officer needs to run to save himself.
Yes.
So how do we handle all of this? I mean, all of these things need to be looked into.
They sure do.
And so on. But, I don't know,
I mean, elections are a civil exercise. In other countries, the Ghanaians go about their regular business. It's not even a public holiday, and they have elections. So I wonder why we always focus on militarization. We need to have scaled that.
We do show of force like 3 days before election. You just see all the.
And you're not going to battle. It's a civic exercise. Yeah. But let's talk about one of the biggest issues that occurred last time we went out for elections in 2023. It was the lowest turnout since Nigeria's return to democracy. 94.47 million registered voters. When INEC announced that, people were excited that, wow, such a huge number. But at the end of the day, only 24.9 million Nigerians actually came out to vote. And you can see how abysmal that is. What do you think is responsible for that turnout? And now, I mean, in the aftermath of the elections in 2023, a lot of people lost hope in the system. There was go to court, you know, so people are still carrying that grudge and pain. So what would be the game changer now? And, you know, when more people come out to vote, it actually makes rigging harder. Yeah, so what does Nigeria need to do, or INEC, or the media, to let people know that this is a matter of life and death, literally?
Two things, two critical things discourage people from coming out to vote. Number one is they believe the results are preordained already.
Yeah, but God has seen everything. Not in that sense.
Results are preordained. And secondly, that they're disillusioned with the political process completely, that even if I go and vote and the person, whoever wins, it's not going to affect my life because they're going to Abuja or going to Alausa to go and sort themselves out, their cronies and their families, that they don't have altruistic motives. They don't have the interest of the populace at heart. So those two reasons are the primary basis for apathy.
So people would rather play football on the streets on election day?
That's what you see. The streets are closed, so it's an opportunity to come out and have fun and play football. They set up goalposts on one end of the street and on the other end, and they play football till the streets are reopened. I always give an anecdotal evidence of a member of staff in our newspaper office who went to General Hospital with his ailing daughter and got there, and they didn't have drip, or they didn't have the injection he needed, and he had to go and start running around to try and find it locally. And of course, General Hospital is where he went because it's income-based. So his income was this. He could go to General Hospital and afford to pay. But when he got there, they didn't have the medicine he needed. And when he got back to the office, he was complaining bitterly. And I asked him, I said, how did you vote in the last election? And he said, vote. Why would I vote? He couldn't see the nexus between the absence of healthcare, of proper healthcare, and the vote that he cast. He couldn't see the link. And many Nigerians are like that. We don't see the direct impact of good governance, which we have the wherewithal to empanel good governance by that very act we do on voting day. We don't interrogate the manifestos, we don't engage with the candidates, we don't ask the right questions in the run-up to the election.
And it's a pretty expensive exercise. that we spend a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we got to the point where people were made to account for the money spent, if were made to say that there are consequences for not thoroughly executing an election, that it's a shame that in 2026 the most credible election we've had was in 1992.
Absolutely, up to 93, up to this date.
Imagine up until now.
How can your past be greater than your present?
Exactly.
But what was the magic wand in 1993 that we can't replicate now? I mean, we had less technology then, we had less population then, and...
so maybe we're not being actually sincere with ourselves. Again, the most popular phrase, or one of the most popular phrases will be political will. Is there really political will to carry out free, fair, credible election that majority of Nigerians can see and agree with? These are the issues.
Well, today in Abuja, we'll know where the political will lies.
We will know when lawmakers meet. Thank you, Mr. Kintobi, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure always.
Thank
you so much.
Keep the conversation going on via YouTube. We're still streaming live. New Central TV Live is where it's happening. And we'll be bringing you more updates. But now let's share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu moves to stabilize Rivers State as Fubara and Wike allegedly find common ground. Nigeria will overcome terrorism and banditry, says Tinubu. Forum seeks adoption of structured wealth management. We're looking at the details of this in a moment. The Rivers State political crisis is a prolonged power struggle between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, now Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, what began as an internal political disagreement quickly escalated into open conflict, dividing the Rivers State House of Assembly and leading to impeachment threats, court cases, protests, and disruptions to governance. Repeated mediation attempts have failed, prompting federal intervention. President Bola Tinubu has held several reconciliation meetings, urging Wike to de-escalate impeachment plans against Fubara, while directing Fubara to recognize Wike as the dominant political leaders in Rivers politics.
After another late-night meeting at the presidential villa yesterday, both men were seen living together in the same vehicle, a symbolic gesture suggesting a possible third. Join us this morning on Breakfast Central to discuss this is writer and political activist Caleb Fubara, not Siminalayi Fubara. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Caleb Fubara, your namesake with the current governor. We're happy to have you join us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
It seems we've been here before. It has a deja vu feeling. Yes, there's an announcement that there's a thaw. Both parties have accepted the olive branch. You know, it feels like kumbaya. And then a few weeks down the line, they're already, somebody is cursing that you shouldn't allow people to betray you. There should be punishment for this, they're throwing jabs at each other, and then we're back to square one. Can we say that it's Uhuru in Rivers State?
It has never...
And the fact that the #1 citizen of the country has intervened and left everything he's doing late at night to once again, settle these two fighting, to de-escalate the fight. Is it yet Uhuru in Rivers State?
There has never been Uhuru, and there will be no Uhuru when the arbiter is biased. And with due respect, I'm referring to Mr. President. He is biased in the matter, so it will be very difficult.
On what grounds do you say?
No, at the point he lifted the state of emergency, I wrote an article I titled President Tinubu and the Satanic Hijack of Rivers State, a post-mortem. Because at the time he had lifted the state of emergency, in quote, graciously, because it was at his mercy. But you see, at that point, the damage has been done. You see, why this whole thing is happening is because there are 3 men in Rivers State who by now should either be talking to the EFCC or should either be somewhere cooling off. But the fact that these men are still roaming free and still calling the shots across board, that's why you still see this.
For the sake of our viewers, who are these men you're referring to?
The first is Dr. Peter Obi. The man, I think, laid a very wrong foundation in today's Rivers State. Rivers State used to be Bayelsa and the present-day Rivers State together until 1996. But after 1996, the first person we had was this Fourth Republic, was Dr. Peter Obi. So it was incumbent on Obi to lay the foundation. And he did. But what he laid as a foundation is what we are reaping today. Unfortunately, Wike has taken it to a dizzying height, right? It started with Dr. Peter Obi because Obi personalized government. The government of Rivers State was about Peter Obi. You know what I'm trying to explain? So by the time...
Did Rotimi Amechi also continue this trajectory?
Yeah, the next person is Rotimi Amechi. Rotimi Amechi was a bit fair because in his first term, you will say he did very well. But by the time he too was consumed by this same ambition of wanting to move from being Rivers governor to president of Nigeria, he lost track. And so the whole of his second term was a disaster. But give it to Rotimi Amechi. If you give him 45%, Obi probably will be about 20. As for Wike, I don't know what to rate. Because if you ask me, Wike simply saw the state as his own personal enterprise. And it's been difficult for anybody. I have said before that the best thing that would have happened is for Governor Fubara to resign at the point they declared that state of emergency. Let this young man, Amehule, this current speaker, run the state as governor, acting governor. And I give you, it will not take 48 hours for the whole world to know that what Fubara is enduring and has endured this while, Amehule will not take it from Wike. Forget what you're saying today. In 48 hours.
Are you sure about that?
I'm telling you.
Because they seem to be aligned on the same path.
No. The alignment is because they have a common enemy in the governor now.
The enemy of my...
Enemy is my friend. Exactly. And unfortunately for the president, he doesn't seem to realize that. The problem Fubara is having with Wike today is to his own benefit. Because were it not for what is happening, Fubara was supposed to come in there as a puppet. Right? Wike detects the tune. But the young man came in, and perhaps one or two persons spoke to him. You're the governor, you have to answer to the people. And he decided to do something differently from what...
And that's what the FCT minister is calling a betrayer.
No.
And he said agreement is agreement.
Agreement. Good. Thanks for that question. Agreement is agreement. As far as I'm concerned, it is not this thing you see them discuss with Tinubu. I'm even surprised that the president is not tired settling Wike and Fubara. I am surprised that the president has all the time to, it happens, they run to him, he will settle. How long will you settle one matter? Agreement is agreement. If you ask me, in my own opinion, it is not this one you see them doing. It is not the truce of December 11, 2023. No, it is not the second one. I have a feeling that there is an agreement even before the man became a governor. That is before Fubara was elected. An agreement, I believe, isn't just normal political give and take. I see the man as somebody who has a spell as the governor, because I know him very well. He's a very outspoken, opinionated human being. So for him, the person I'm seeing now as governor is not the same I know.
Don't you think that, in a way, maybe him moving to the All Progressives Congress might have had some impact in how governance would have been run in the state and brought some sense of calm?
No, because from the word go, he was running to APC like a man who had no choice. It was an options choice for him. A man who found himself in a catch-22 situation. If he remained where he was, it's trouble for him.
Between a hard rock and a...
the Blue Sea. Right? So at the point he even left, look at what happened to him. This is a man of all the other governors. It is convention that if you are the governor of a state, you naturally assume the position of the leader. Why is Rivers' own case a case we have to debate, a case the president has to wade in to say, oh, this one is the leader and this one is not the leader.
One of his ward.
But at the end of the day, we're in blaming the president and all of this. It is the same Rivers people that form the structure that the FCT minister is leading. It is the same. You will see now when he arrives with his motorcade in Port Harcourt, they will come out en masse to be dancing and celebrating and singing with him. It's still the same people
The
in Rivers
reason
State.
why you see what you're saying, that is why we in Rivers Awake, we just form a group, a movement that is called Rivers Awake. We are simply saying enough is enough. We're not going to go about it the way the politicians do their thing. But it's a matter of making sure that this message permeates. Because this whole thing is about votes for Tinubu, no problem. Wike and Fubara are fighting each other to say we want to deliver Tinubu. But in fighting each other to deliver Tinubu, what are they saying about the Rivers people? The Rivers man is not in the equation of how to deliver Tinubu.
Mr. Fubara, I mean, until you just said that now, my first question to you was really going to be about, is there anything like the Rivers people? Because it seems like in the past 2 years or more, the focus has been on who's
on the sideline.
The politicking. And sometimes I wonder, I mean, I've been to Rivers State, beautiful place, wonderful people, vibrant. But yet again, it seems like everybody is keeping quiet and enjoying what's going on.
No.
And the dividends of democracy is not touching anybody.
See, it's a very fantastic question. That's why, that brings me back to where I'm coming from, the foundation.
Okay.
You know that the Rivers people are very vibrant people. That was why opposition to the sitting governor in 1999, between 1999 and 2003, seemed to have started in Rivers State because of the elders who came together and brought Odili to be voted into office, right? But when that struggle led to the death of two prominent Ijaw sons, people were being shot. A member of the State House of Assembly who was on the opposition was killed in his house. Till today, none of these murders have been resolved. No one person has been arrested. It sent jitters into people. Now, if you fast forward to Wike, there is this lawyer. His name, he was Ken Aswete. As I'm talking to you in the studio, he was at a radio station. He had this leaning towards Amechi. So there were things he was saying about Wike's government. And as I speak with you, that young man was just telling them, I'm bringing facts to prove what I am saying, because there were questions they asked him, and by the time he finished, the people were like, are you sure? Can you prove this? He said, by Monday, this interview was happening about Friday, Saturday. Do you know that by Sunday morning, he promised them he was going to bring records to prove what he was saying as a lawyer? Ken Aswete. By Sunday morning, about 2 a.m., he was killed in Port Harcourt. So one killing too many is the reason why you see this level of acquiescence. You understand? What you have in Rivers State is piece of the graveyard. People are murmuring. But the people have so weaponized governments, weaponized hunger, no job. Of all these things that we're talking about, Rivers State has 2 natural seaports. Of all the flamboyant governors we've had, right? None of them has said anything about those seaports. 2 natural seaports. Port Harcourt is the capital of the eastern ports. The one you have in Calabar. These ports were working until recently. None of them talks about such thing that only the One ports will give you direct jobs, 3,000 jobs. They don't want nobody to work. Rivers State government has over 10 companies. We had Pabot breweries. Beer is being brewed, built by the government of DTSPIF in Rivers State. We have glass industry. We have boat yard. We have speedboats being manufactured. They are all moribund. They are all in Port Harcourt. The place, the first government in Rivers State, dedicated as an industrial hub of Rivers State called Transamadi, is dead today. You could excuse the military men because they were under command.
Yes.
They will come, maybe you're serving just 9 months, they call you back, post another person. But for these ones who the people vote for, Odili had solid 8 years. At the end of those 8 years, what do we have to show as
also
legacy?
Get all derivation, so extra.
We're not even talking about the money yet.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about, because none of these persons, they spend the money as their personal money. Odili was the first person to buy a jet in the history of this country. We were told that the jets were supposed to be ambulance.
Yeah.
But the question is, you don't have ambulance on the ground to take man from one point to the other. You're talking of ambulance now to fly people outside the country.
It's priorities. Now let's talk about the opposition in Rivers State, because there are people that are fed up, and like you said, and we've also suspected there's a graveyard peace. There's been murmuring. Because logically, there are people that will say that all you guys and your agreements and whatever you have agreed, we don't want any one of you, Fubara or Wike, we need a breath of fresh air. Are there no third forces or no opposition that is selling a new Rivers? Rivers without godfathers and agreements, a Rivers that really cares about the people.
That's what we are doing.
Rivers awake.
Rivers awake. That's what it is about. We have.
Yeah, but you're not a political party.
No. We'll fuse into a political party. Or we might not even need to go there. What we need to do is to send the message, get the message to permeate. People should cry in churches, fast, pray. Those ones in the mosque.
Do you have the resources to get the message across?
Exactly.
It's money politics. Do you have a live band? Do you have all the other things that they use in Rivers State to convince the people?
My dear, that is very, very crucial. I like this kind of question that is hitting directly on the issues. We don't have the resources. But there is something a few of us have come together to form Rivers Awake have come to understand. Like Nnamdi will say, show the people the way and they will follow. There is something about the masses. If you go to Port Harcourt today, in the bus, the taxi driver, who is not even a Rivers man, who is an indigene, is angered about what is playing out. You understand? So all that we need to do is to get the message across. And then we expect people who have been looking for an avenue, you understand, to file in. Because as it stands today, for every Rivers person, whether you're in Port Harcourt, whether you're in Abuja, Lagos, in the diaspora, for as long as you refuse to say a thing about what is happening today, you are complicit. I have no personal issues with Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike. But I tell you, it is wrong of him to think that Rivers State is his personal property. That's just the problem you're saying here. This whole problem is not in all the structure. Look at when the structure started. People were voted into office. Just barely 3 months. It's not as if you're getting ready to go for an election. Barely 3 months. You're talking of structure. Who wants to take structure? To do what? What would the governor that was just voted into office take structure to do in 3 months?
But have the people of Rivers been able to decipher this structure? What? Because Nigerians keep hearing structure.
No.
Nigerians think about
the structure.
A structure that comes with positioning your own people in power.
Exactly. That is why she asked the question. I was to take that question before.
Okay, all right, please.
Now see why I talk about the president. Yes, in politics, it is not a game of scruples, no doubt. But at the level Mr. President is today, apart from being the president of this country, he is a statesman. He is a man we're supposed to see as a man with all the credentials of a Democrat. He was with Bola Ige when Bola Ige referred to Abacha's 5 parties as the 5 fingers of a leprous hand. He was in Nadeko. He was one of those who fought for democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is just equal right. That's what democracy is about. But what we're seeing now is might. He is helping Wike to enthrone a democratic tyrant. Where on earth will you have a governor sitting to take orders? Yes, you do not deny the fact that Wike is the greatest human factor in the making of Governor Fubara. Nobody is denying that. In fact, when our brother was voted into office, we were driving to Pobo. I was in a car with one of my friends. We were driving home. We got to a point, and we're like, at this point, I think we'll suggest to Mr. Governor, you understand, that we'll have a life-size statue of Nyesom Wike, like an entry into Pobo, because we are a minority. The man who is the governor today was just a civil servant doing his thing. So how he found favor around Wike? But it is not enough.
And maybe that's what is paining
No, I'm coming. It is not enough. The man also helped him. That is the other side of the story. But the unfortunate thing with the governor too is that he will not let us know his own side of the story. All these intermittent outbursts, it's not the issue. The reason why Wike knows what perception means in this kind of game. So you see him every day wanting you to hear his own side of the story. And he tells Fubara that he is a betrayer. It is only a man who is dead that is not supposed to be asked his own side. Yeah. Exactly. But unfortunately for Rivers people, the governor has refused to address the state on this matter. It is just this hide and seek. We only hear that, oh, I have settled with my godfather. Oh, the matter is between son and father and all that. But back to what I was trying to say. When this whole thing, if you watch, Fubara wasn't just a pushover, if not for anything, by the office he occupied, right? So the moment, let's say some persons got him to realize that he is the governor of the state, the man who has the power to sign a death warrant. Fubara now started asserting himself. It's simple. Do you know that before now, the question is, what was happening before now? We just got to know barely 6 months of Fubara being in office that, oh, Rivers State realizes about 30-something billion. But all these other last 8 years, we've been hearing between 12, 13 billion. So this structure thing you're talking about is just about the Rivers resources.
Okay.
The man is bent on being the president. He is possessed about being president. The only reason why you see Wike is now sticking to plan B is because Fubara did not allow that free flow of Rivers Fund. Otherwise, the way we see it, the man himself would have been the person who would have resigned about next month from Tinubu's government and then put the PDP together. A man who is destroying a party, exactly, for this election, this 2027 election.
All right, you know what? Let's go to break. We'll come back and we'll still expand some more on what the future plans are for His Excellency Nyesom Wike, as well as His Excellency Governor Siminalayi Fubara. We're going to break. Thank you. And we'll come back to continue the conversation about Rivers State. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at Rivers State, joined this morning by writer and a son of the soil. We have Caleb Fubara. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So now you've spoken so strongly about your disappointment in how things have turned out in Rivers State, including the role that the president played so far. So what is the role going forward? We can't stop we can't stop where we are. There's already news about how the governor is most likely to release a list of commissioners after the meeting with Asovila, a list of commissioners to be presented to, Amewule and, all the other lawmakers. And
has the impeachment been suspended, the impeachment proceedings? What's the latest on that?
No, so you can see that rather than the president allow the process, you understand, to play out, this president steps in, president is not even helping the matter, because it is of the assembly to impeach a governor when they feel that the governor has cases to answer, right? But when you start that process, you don't start the process like using it as a campaign, a blueprint for your own campaign. Look at what we hear. Oh, that they came back, they wanted 600 billion, they have 600 billion. What is the governor doing about 600 billion and all that? And before you knew it, boom, it's about impeachment. And then because there's an impeachment, today, if you ask me, there are 4 governors ruling the states. The governor that's elected by the people, Amehule is now a governor in his own right. He's no longer speaker. He's like an opposition governor. And then you have the Honorable Minister of the FCT, who sees himself as the
emeritus governor.
My dear brother, help me. And then the president, who is the general overseer. It's all about one state. What is happening?
So we're going into elections last year. Finally, before we let you go, I mean, will there be a hard reset? And will they finally give Rivers people an opportunity to, you know, to reflect and start all over again? Because how many years of pure governance do you even have in this first year? There was suspension, is always one fight to the other.
Ordinarily, you see, that is why this whole thing is looking like a spite on the job people. Now, Rivers State was touted at some point as a state that was created for job people. But let's not go into that. Now, you now move the chunk that is Bayelsa today. Now, the whole of the job people is a state where you have 19 ethnic nationality, right? You have 3 senatorial districts. And then you have what used to be the dividing upland riverine dichotomy, because virtually all the Jaw clans that are in Rivers State today are the riverine. Then all the other group, Eche, Ogoni, Ekwere, Ekwe, those ones are upland. So it's like everything upland versus the Jaw people. Now, Odili left office. It was of the upland. He did 8 years and left. Amechi took over from him. This dynasty thing started with him. Because for whatever it was, even when the opposition at that point said it was Ekwere turn, it was like something everybody agreed that it should go to Ekwere at that time, who should succeed Odili. But Odili ensured that it shouldn't be one Austin Okpara. It shouldn't be any other person outside that his kitchen cabinet. And then gave ticket to Amechi, who everybody knows was his boy. Amechi worked with him. He raised Amechi. Amechi was his PA. Amechi was everything to him. Now, but what happened? Amechi now had 8 years to assuage the Ekwere people, because at some time in Port Harcourt, you know, Port Harcourt, part of Port Harcourt, in fact, the greater part of Port Harcourt is Ekwere land. Then the other side is where you have the Okrika people and Kalabari people. But you know what happened? At some point in Port Harcourt, if you do something, the thing you hear the people say is Elinda. Elinda simply translates to mean my father's land. It's just like you're coming to oppress me in my father's land. So you got to that point where it was like, give them that sense of belonging. And the Ekwere people had it in Amechi 8 years. That brings me back again to Dili. As a statesman who knows the politics of the place, when the Jonathans brought Wike to him, simple. It was a matter of whisper. Given the volatility of this place, Amechi is just finishing, whatever it is. The Jonathan brought Wike to spite Amechi. They were not altruistic about it. It wasn't about Rivers people. And that's not how leadership should operate. It's just like what the president is doing today. What about tomorrow? Because when you install a democratic tyrant over a state, Odili was in a position at the point to say, please, Wike was actually, his problem with Amechi started when he wanted to go to the Senate. Amechi wanted to keep the seat for himself. By the time he finishes in 2015, he knew if he gave it to Wike in 2011, that he will not come back by 2015 to say, Wike, give me back the seat. So instead, he gave it to an Okrika man to keep it for himself. But by the time Amechi got into second term, as the chairman of Governors Forum, one young man in his cabinet and a Delta guy walked up to Amechi and said, look at your brother. He doesn't know what he's in there. You are the leader of all the governors in Nigeria. So what again? So, but Amechi knew what it would look like wanting to go against Jonathan. So what Amechi now started fighting for was how he could run with some other person from the north against Jonathan. That was what led to that problem. Oh. Well, so now back to the question you asked me.
In 30 seconds, please.
Right. It is no longer about them. Because what they are doing now, it is not about Rivers people. But we know in Rivers State, for instance, I don't need to name them, but there is a man like Dumolulu Briggs, who Rivers people can rally around and then get a clean shift from this Odili, Wike, Amechi dynasty. Because Amechi himself, can you imagine a situation where, as we talk today, Wike's son is being placed.
Is that true?
It's being positioned. True. I got this from somebody who is an insider.
Position for what?
Position for the House of Representatives. And imagine that kind of slight, that the one who is representing Wike in the House of Representatives is the one that is coming to be governor. In other words, all these stories of, oh, he's going to give it to an Okrika man, Iyayi, all those names, you see them banding. Once you get to that point, Rivers people will be shocked to see that. Another Ikwere man. Now look at the situation where somebody is leaving office and you hand the governor in between and
just listen to this. I need to, like, are we even a democracy? Somebody is going to give, as if the electorate is not counting. He's going to give.
It's why a number of them will say, I'm guaranteeing Mr. President 2 million votes.
How?
Exactly how?
Going to?
We need to go. Mr. Fubara. We definitely need to have a part 2 of this conversation.
And by the way, he has a book that covers the
Yes, I said the river season of insanity.
Yes.
As at 2018, I didn't know it was going to get this bad. See where we are. So what I'm saying is, by the time we propagate, we do our little best, and then people come in willingly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caleb Fubara. Always a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much for joining us. All right, we do have another conversation to look into. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll have our next conversation about the state of insecurity in Nigeria and the role of Nigeria's First Lady in the most recent times. Stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has described the United States military airstrikes carried out on Christmas Day against Islamist militants in Sokoto State as a blessing, signaling the federal government's readiness for stronger security collaboration with Washington. Speaking to Fox News Digital during a visit to the United States, Mrs. Tinubu said the operation was welcomed by Nigeria as part of efforts at tackling insurgency and banditry in the country. She noted that the government hopes the engagement will lead to broader and more sustained cooperation on counterterrorism and internal security.
The First Lady explained that Nigeria continues to battle terrorist groups hiding in forests, as well as criminal networks involved in kidnapping for ransom. Mrs. Tinubu maintained that insecurity in the country is not targeted at any single faith, stressing that both Muslims and Christian communities have been victims of extremist attacks. Let's take a look at the clip. Well, while we get that clip ready for you, let's quickly get our guest who's been waiting for us in the waiting room. We do have our security experts joining us. Mr. Jonathan Onoja Isaac joins us this morning.
All right, Mr. Onoja, while you're unmuting your device, let's get your general sense of, what you make of the First Lady's comments. It has generated reactions on social media. Commentators have begun to drop their perspectives. Do you think that she was well within her rights, and, in what capacity was she making those comments? Right.
Good morning to Nigerians.
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead.
The First Lady statements, I think, is in view of her fight also against insecurity, and placing it side by side with the experience back home here in Nigeria, and the joy that comes with the U.S. airstrikes during the Christmas period. I think every Nigerian here knows that airstrike was a very fantastic one, and if continuous effort is put in, not necessarily to invade the country, but to partner with the security agencies to bring to the barest minimum the issues of insecurity in Nigeria, will be a great one for the country. And so our position as the First Lady of Nigeria, I think she has to seek for peace and security of her country. And so it is in the right perspective, in the right position, and our position or her statement is in tandem with the views of Nigerians.
Well, if you say her statement is in tandem with the views of Nigerians, I mean, are we saying that all Nigerians have celebrated the strike? Do you think that there is maybe half of a percentage of Nigerians who felt that that strike shouldn't have come from the United States, rather it should have come from Nigerian soldiers or military?
Yes, we've argued that that perspective. We've discussed it, we've analyzed it, and it has to do with the issues of trust and collaborations. I have for once advised that it's not necessary for the issue of strikes from the United States of America. Rather, there should be intelligence aids to see how our military will, boots on ground here, do the job. Because, after the airstrikes, there were issues of the sovereignty of Nigeria. And not until the Minister of Foreign Affairs came to clearly say that this is partnership. It's not any issue of invasion does not arise. So, but when it becomes too incessant, it will, pricks the conscience of Nigeria, whether Nigeria as a country is still a sovereign nation. And so it is more advisable for the United States of America to help the Nigerian military and security agencies with intelligence. Intelligence in the sense that they know where those guys are, like they tag that operation an operation of precision. They knows where they are, precisely give them the information of where they are, where they are gathering, and see if they're going to, at any point, give you any reasons why you begin to doubt their performances and their abilities. So I think at this point, what I expected that should be more on ground is the collaborations of the United States of America versus the Nigerian government and the security agencies. And we've been seeing that before. We've seen that before under the defense minister for state, His Excellency Dr. Bello Matawale. I think during his time, even while in office now, but times where he visited some of these countries, including the United States of America, and also Turkey, to see how there can be partnership and to aid the Nigerian intelligence and military operations. So if we are seeing the result of that partnership, now we shouldn't make it like a subject matter. Rather, we should appreciate them and see how we would engage them more diplomatic. Because when we go with this idea of why should they come in, why should they not give the Nigerian intelligence, the essence for that partnership will be cut out. So let's look at a possible means to see how the collaboration will be that.
Talking about the results of partnerships, some Nigerians would disagree with you and say that what results of the partnership really, and what's the damage assessment after the Christmas Day airstrikes? They would ask questions as to how many high-value targets were neutralized in that attack, and has it stopped further terrorist attacks from happening? This all happened in Kwara last week. Over 200 plus Nigerians were killed in different parts of the country, and those skeptics of U.S. intervention would also point to the United States history of intervention and intervening in all around the world, and they will ask you to point to one positive example where the United States intervened and the country turned out better for it. So do you think these skeptics have genuine grounds to be worried about this sort of things happening? Because latest conversation now is that the American boots on the ground, albeit in an advisory and non-combat role, and the United States is also making entreaties to the Nigerian government to allow them have a drone refueling base in the country. And they say, it starts with little things like this before America establishes a base on a Nigerian territory. What do you make of all of this?
From your questions, I would like to take one after the other. The idea of whether terrorists were neutralized in the last operations of the U.S. airstrike shouldn't arise. The most important thing is that there is a signal, there is a warning, and I believe so much that there are casualties. But the U.S. operations does not necessarily comes with exposing cause of individuals or terrorists that are neutralized, because that is not in line with the global standard. When it is only in Nigeria we begin to show the face of one Tuji who has been neutralized, and by next week he also resurfaced. They are not quick to give us victory. Rather, they're taking a process to ensure that all of these things will be taken off our shores. Nigerians should not be skeptical. Nigerians should believe that there's a process to it. As to whether the U.S. intervention in countries globally have not left them better, we should not align our thought with that, because what they are coming to do, it is not an occasional something. It's an occasional intervention. We are not in a war zone where the U.S. will come and say they are intervening, and then before we know, it takes over our territory. No, we are a peaceful and sovereign nation trying to fight our insecurity. So their help and assistance, their aid at this moment is welcome, because we need technological advancement in the fight against insecurity. We're talking about the Tucano jet and how effective are the Tucano jet is. So our territory, even our personnel, the operation of the equipment have become very difficult for them. So we will need people who understands our terrain and also watch our geographical space from wherever they sit to see how best they can help. So when we say help comes with its own conditions, but we must not look at the negative side of it. We must give it to the positivity that yes, the U.S. interventions, more so that these are people who have bettered us, should be something that we should celebrate. Now, I'm talking about the Kwara State massacre of last week is kind of fortunate, but like we all know, insecurity did not start a day, and insecurity will not be reduced to the barest minimum in a day. This is a kinetic approach that have been ongoing, and I also advise the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Air Forces to deploy more of a non-kinetic approach. It's some of this to kill some of these issues, because yes, we are fighting our insecurity, fighting a whole lot of fronts, terrorism, ISWAP, the Boko Haram, and all of that. But yes, if you see currently what is happening in Nigeria, there are more insecurity than even what we are seeing. There are more insecurity.
Okay. May I please, I'd like to interrupt at this point to ask you to further expand on what you mean by non-kinetic approach.
Yes, the non-kinetic approach, like I earlier mentioned, there are experts in this field. In these areas, I give you the instance of the former Zamfara State Governor, His Excellency, and the current state and the current Minister for State of Defense, His Excellency Dr. Bello Matawali, during his time as the Zamfara State Governor. There were allegations of negotiations with bandits and all of that. What did he do? What were the things he did? The formula was bring those who you felt are issues with the state and know what the issues are and what were the problems. Some that feel disgruntled, some that feel that there's an opportunity from government, some may feel that there are so many issues. And then if you call 100 Nigerians on the street today and you ask them what are their problems, all of them will give you different problems. And so he was able to identify the challenges of the state and negotiate with the needs of the people. Where there are no roads, provide roads for them. Where there's unemployment, reduce the unemployed soldiers on the street and take some of them from the street and give them employment. When there are issues of hunger, he was able to at least give some palliative to some of the issues. They use some of them to go to school. They are giving free education. Some that want skills, they were.
Okay, what I'm asking, and I hear you correctly. I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify that this non-kinetic approach, if it involves speaking or negotiating with terrorists.
Not necessarily negotiating with terrorists, negotiating with the needs of Nigerians. And in this instance, what are the needs of Nigerians? There are the youth in the street today are constitute 60% to our population, and most of them are unemployed. That's another aspect of insecurity. The people perceived an opportunity from government. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ambition came with a renewed hope. Why we see renewed hope on paper? We must bring to the grassroots what the renewed hope agenda should
be. And I hear you, Mr. I hear you. I hear when you campaign for the rights of citizens to have a better quality of life. It's just that when people typically hear non-kinetic approach, what really typically jumps out is negotiating with the terrorists, hearing their side of the argument, which is something that, you know, many have accused Sheikh Gumi of doing. And that's why I wanted to clarify if that's also a position that you agree with. You know, there are many who say they should be brought back, de-radicalized, reintegrated into the society. Is that a position you agree with? Sorry? Oh, we seem to be having issues with it. Sorry, can you say that again? We have issues with your audio.
I'm also saying that the non-kinetic approach is negotiating with the needs of the people. And when that is
it the people? No, we're focused on the terrorists. Terrorists now, the terrorists, not the people. How does non-kinetic approach affect the terrorists? Does it affect the terrorists?
How do the terrorists form? How did the terrorists begin?
So, a terrorist that has killed, just like what we saw in Kwara State now, after killing over 100 and something persons, they should still use non-kinetic to discuss with them and, you know, take care of them.
No, if you understand my position, if you understand my position,
I'm trying to understand. That's why I asked.
Serving the needs of the people, negotiating with bandits. Already the government is negotiating with bandits, and we must not hide this. We must not shy away from the truth. When people are kidnapped, from the community, and they go about releasing them with ransom paid.
Mr. Isaac,
it doesn't seem like you are. You're trying to answer our actual question.
To really get your point. I really wish the network was fair so we could really listen to you. But maybe next time when we have this conversation, I'm going to pen it down. It'll be one of the questions I look forward to ask you. What non-kinetic approach means for bandits or for kidnappers or for terrorists, as they now being.
We understand what called. You are saying that it means for the people.
For the people,
all
but
we're
for
asking is what it means for the terrorists.
Yeah.
How you think they should be handled.
If it applies or it doesn't apply. But I mean, your network is a bit faulty. We can't hear you. We just want to possibly end the conversation here. It's time for the headline news. Thank you so much for joining us. And please do avail yourself when next we come calling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. It's now time for us to bring to you breakfast headlines. And of course, this will be brought to you right after the break.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I'm Olive Emodi. Let's begin with security matters. Residents of Danhonu in Kaduna's Millennium City blocked Yaradua Road on Monday to press for urgent measures after a fresh kidnapping incident involving 7 people. Protesters said suspected bandits raided the community late Sunday, abducting members of 2 families in a pattern of repeated attacks. The demonstration involved men, women, and youth carrying placards and voicing frustration at the frequency of abductions, which locals say has reached 11 cases in recent months. Protesters marched to the Millennium City Divisional Police headquarters to formally register grievances and press security agencies to intensify patrols and establish a police outpost. And now let's move to Benue State, where fear has gripped Utonkon district in Ado local government area, Benue State, after gunmen abducted 9 worshippers from St. John's Catholic Church in Ojije during a vigil service on Saturday. The victims, reportedly teenagers, were unarmed when attackers struck, and the kidnappers are demanding a 30 million naira ransom. Residents say the community is now living in fear, avoiding night activities, including church services. This incident adds to growing insecurity in rural Benue, where residents regularly face kidnappings and attacks. Security agencies have yet to provide details on rescue operations or arrests. 184 people, including 3 pregnant women, 7 female minors, 41 female adults, 9 male minors, 123 male adults, and 1 person with disabilities have been arrested in connection with human trafficking in Plateau State by the State Task Force on Anti-Human Trafficking. The State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Philemon Daffy, who also serves as the chairman of the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, made this known during a press briefing in Jos, the state capital, adding that the feat was recorded during raids in different locations in Jos. According to the commissioner, the victory recorded on the 6th and 7th days of February was not a product of chance or mere luck, but the culmination of rigorous learning and the strategic application of data-driven intelligence and resilient tactical planning. We have updates of News Central's Chizoba Anion. We're quoting Philemon Daffy as saying that the suspects are currently undergoing profiling, after which those found culpable will be prosecuted to serve as deterrent to others.
The task force is constantly developing its capabilities through past experiences, specialized training, and advanced infrastructural plans to monitor our borders and our hotspots. We are committed to ensuring your families remain very strong, and for those families already hit hard by this scourge, we are working on frameworks for your recovery and reintegration. Your resilience is our inspiration. To the adults, and let me warn, who patronize these children, you are not customers, you are predators. You are the demand that fuels this evil trade, and you are as guilty as the traffickers themselves. My office and the task force has issued a standing directive of zero tolerance. Our intent is clear. We will track you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. If you are caught patronizing a minor, the law will not offer you a fine or a slap on your wrist. We are coming for your freedom. Under our statutory powers and the relevant criminal laws, the following consequences are now in immediate effect for any property found complicit in these acts. A, we will seal and seize. Such establishments will be shut down immediately, and all assets contained within will be forfeited to the state of Plateau. 2, demolishing. When structures are found to be dedicated to these illicit activities, they will be demolished.
Police in South Africa are investigating the killing of a Nigerian national during an anti-drug operation in Windsor, northern Johannesburg. Opposition party Action SA says the shooting occurred during a coordinated effort to disrupt drug activity in the area. According to Action SA, the Nigerian national, who was suspected of involvement in drug trafficking, was shot dead during the operation. The party confirmed its Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate, Councillor Zolani Kumalo, was present at the scene. Kumalo also acknowledged the incident in a post on social media platform X. Action SA says crime and lawlessness remain central issues in its campaign for Ekurhuleni, arguing that weak law enforcement has allowed organized crime to flourish. Now to the UK, where the Prime Minister Keir Starmer insisted he would not walk away on Monday after a prominent ally demanded the Prime Minister quit for embroiling the British government in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Senior ministers rallied around him over the most serious crisis yet of his stuttering 19-month premiership as a rising far-right challenges him in the polls. The Prime Minister appeared defiant as he insisted he had won every fight he has ever been in. Earlier on Monday, Scottish Labour leader Anna Sawar called on Starmer to resign for appointing Peter Maddenson as US ambassador despite knowing he has maintained links to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And that's all at this hour. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast Central. We'll continue with the show this morning as we bring you the newspaper reviews. I am Olive Emodi and the show continues.
Welcome back. Time for us to look into the papers and see what each and every front pages of the newspapers are saying. We have our guest in the house, publisher in each newspaper, Mr. Ikechukwu Amenji is here with us. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Michi. Yeah, you look like you're just coming back from Davos, World Economic Summit.
No, I just wanted to be like you today, Wenger.
Oh, great.
I'm inspired.
Splendid. Okay, let's start off. Let's also announce that our viewers can call in for those who have a comment to make, because I am sure you know the biggest story that will be on the front pages of the newspapers this morning. If you don't, well, let me show it to you. It
varies from paper to paper. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Let's start off with the Punch or the Nigerian Tribune. I'd like to go from there up so that our guest can also break some things down with his in-depth analysis. Senate reconvenes today as Electoral Act triggers uproar. Obi joins NASS protesters and Kuka demands review. Anger mounts over controversial amendment. Akpabio leads a tense emergency session. Let's not go further. Because we want to enjoy the time we have. So we'd like you to jump on this. No need to explain the entire story. You're the publisher-in-chief, so you understand the entire, would I say rhetorics or the entire story, as it were. What's your take on this quick emergency session that's going down today at 12? Do you think it would yield positive fruits?
Well, let's wait and see. But what I find rather interesting is that Nigerians seem to be surprised at what the Senate did. Look, anybody who had expected that the Senate or the National Assembly, that's the Senate specifically, because the bill that the House of Representatives passed, of course, was now fundamentally different from what the Senate did. Was it last week? But anybody who had expected the Senate, led by Akpabio, and of course populated by members as they are today, anybody who expected anything different from them does not understand the character of the politicians we are dealing with today. I've always argued that the most fundamental problem we have in this country and with what is going on is that we are in a so-called democracy without democrats. And our system, democratic system of governance, is being operated by autocrats, by people who don't believe in free and fair elections, by people who got into positions they are in today through fraudulent elections. And for you to expect that these people are going to guarantee free and fair election without any fight is to be naive. So I was not surprised that they are trying to remove the guardrails that Nigerians unanimously agree will lead to free, fair, and credible elections in 2027. You know, we love cliches in this country, and therefore you hear people come out to tell you, because it has been said somewhere else, that the worst form of democracy is better than the best form of
military rule or autocracy.
Of military rule or any other kind of government. But hey, that is when you are practicing democracy. And the hallmark of a democratic system, the basic norm, is that the people must decide who governs them. And the people cannot decide who governs them if the election is not free and fair. Any democratic system, so-called, that does not guarantee free and fair elections is not a democracy. It may well be a military government, because in a military government, the people shoot themselves to power, at least. they know that we know that they did not depend on our votes to come into office. But when people rig and manipulate, as it happened in 2023, and come to power, and they come and bamboozle you with cliches, it doesn't go well. So let's wait and see what is going to happen 12 noon today. But it is also good that civil society organizations and even Nigerians are saying enough is enough. Let us include this compulsory real-time transmission of results. Joe, if I sit down here and tell you that that's the silver bullet, and therefore if we include it,
things will turn around.
That if we become Uhuru, I am lying to you. Because these guys, like I said earlier, don't believe in free and fair elections. And they are not working towards in 2023. There were clear rules of if you contest, if you did not participate in the primaries, you could not have been part of the decision. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio,
was not part of the primaries.
Ran for the primaries of the presidency. Of course, he failed. How did he become a senator in the first place?
And nobody's
Now
talking about that.
one.
And
The courts are quiet on that.
And the judiciary put a seal of authenticity on that fraud. The former Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, also was in the same decision. The man who won the primaries went to court. What did the Supreme Court do? They gave victory to Lawan. And these are the people who are sitting to make laws that will guarantee free and fair elections. They won't do it. Like I said, even if they end up today and say, okay, because of pressure, let us include this. They are still going to look for loopholes there that they are going to hold on to, knowing full well that eventually they will tell you to go to court and that the judiciary will be on their side. But I must commend Mr. Peter Obi today. I've always wondered if any other person other than Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria today, the Tinubu that I know will be in the forefront of opposition. So what Peter Obi did yesterday is what any responsible opposition leader will do. And you ask yourself, where are all the other people who are
coming for presidency,
masquerading as possible presidential aspirants? Or do they expect that they will be in their houses and these guys will deliver free and fair election to them on a platter of nothing? It won't happen. So if the opposition candidates are really desirous of seeing that elections in Nigeria become much more credible, they must be part of this agitation to ensure that those who are making the laws, they do the right thing.
What do you say to critics of Mr. Peter Obi that says he's being opportunistic and taking advantage of the pain of the people by being political?
Being a part of the protest.
Being a part of the protest.
How? I've just told you. We're all here in 2014, 2015. There was nothing the APC did not do. They even internationalized their campaign. We saw them moving around in fact, Chief John Oyegu and all the chiefs, including the man.
And we also remember the subsidy protest.
Even for the subsidy protest, at least APC had been formed as a political party by 2014. The man who eventually became president, Muhammadu Buhari, was out there on the streets. So, and I've said earlier that if the shoe was to be on the other foot, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu were still to be in opposition today, he will exactly do what Peter Obi did yesterday. So what do they mean by opportunistic and being political? But of course, it has to be nothing but political, because what is going on is politics. So he is performing the ideal role of an opposition leader, which is to protest things that are not right. That is what opposition leaders do. APC did it in 2014 before they came into power in 2015. So for anybody, so-called critic, what are they criticizing? That the man should not talk because he is
a politician,
or because he's aspiring to be a presidential candidate in 2027. So what are they talking about? Nigerians must show that they want a Nigeria that works for everybody. Nigeria is not working. Joe, anybody that tells you that Nigeria is working, a Nigeria where you wake up in the morning, over 170 citizens are slaughtered in the most brutal, gruesome manner. And we have all moved on. We've all moved on. Not even, look, if this thing were to happen in countries that know what they are doing, we should even be flying the national flag at half-mast. Over 170 people, by some accounts, over 200 people of your citizens massacred gruesomely. And
the president still attended the wedding fatia of his defense minister on the Friday of the week.
With 10 of his children. That is what we are celebrating. A country that should be in mourning right now. People have moved on. Where are those who committed the crime? Nobody knows.
210 trillion naira NNPCL missing.
They said
not one person, Joe.
They said the Christians that were kidnapped in Kaduna State, they have all been released. Who were their kidnappers? How many were?
They never answered those questions.
Arrested.
The 83 children,
did they pay
brought them back. They wash okay.
So you know the absurdities are so confounding.
And that brings me to another story on the front page of the Punch newspaper, just before we move on, and still on security. I mean, the Punch has come out with this editorial saying Kwara massacre, save Southwest, launch major military campaigns in Kwara and Niger State. I mean, this problem started off in the Northeast more than 13 years ago, and you know, we thought it was a one-off, it would be confined there. We've seen it spread slowly towards the coastal states, and the Nigerian government, unfortunately, seems to be more interested in optics, how we look, how America perceives us. That's why they paid so much money for lobbying, and we've seen all this media rounds happening. Is the government going to take this editorial seriously? And I mean, is it inevitable? Because from what we've seen, I mean, they've clearly failed. Since when the president declared a state of emergency or security, there was no.
September last year.
Nothing happened since September last year. We've seen multiple attacks on a weekly basis.
Did you hear the president addressing the NEC meeting yesterday? You would think that this man was presenting his campaign manifesto. And this is a man that has been on the saddle for now 3 years. What he was still saying yesterday, I will. Not, we have done this, we have done this. These are the things we've achieved in the last 3 years that should give people the confidence. On the eve of your departure, you are still not telling us, I will do this, I will do that. So what have you been doing in the last 4 years? The Punch editorial, are they going to take it serious? Have they ever taken anything serious, Benga? The Punch editorial is saying should save the Southwest. It's not only the Southwest. Nigeria is in crisis. If you survive in Nigeria, it is by the grace of God, not because of what government has done or not done. In a country where it is convenient for terrorists to wake up in the morning, walk into a village and kill every living person in sight and disappear into thin air, or walk into a village and abduct 150 people or more and vanish. And what we hear is that 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, we say they have been rescued. Uniforms sold. Everybody will come there and they will celebrate. No word is heard about those who committed the atrocity. Were they arrested? Were they neutralized?
Was a ransom paid?
Was ransom paid? And we are expected to move on without asking all these questions. When you ask these questions, they say, you are anti-Tinubu. You never see anything
good. Are you not
good.
happy that they've released them?
But the president has not been speaking in that sense. I mean, you're saying that he's still talking, I will. That, I would assume is present continuous, but he hasn't shared what he's done from, what you've said. However, there's somebody who's sharing what the president has done, and that is the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who is currently in America. I don't know if she's back yet, but I know she was in America and granted an interview. Let's take a look at the video and we'll come back to talk about it.
Whatever is happening, at times, who would have, you said President Trump recognized me. Who would have thought that would happen, to even say the least? So when you look at that, I'm getting global recognition in all of it, despite, and that is what life is all about. If something is going to be good, it will come from, the rebels, and it starts like that. And then we have that attention, we have the conversation going, and we expect, there will be more, it's going to yield a better fruit for us, and both for us and also America.
President Trump had words of praise for you this morning, but there are still some U.S. lawmakers that believe that there is a, as they call it, Christian genocide going on in Nigeria, and they've been critical of the government for not doing enough. What do you say to that argument? What do you tell them?
We've been able to educate them more about the situation on ground. We live in Nigeria. We know that, this is a democracy, and we are getting close to re-election, and there will be a lot of potholes of the beliefs they want the outside world to know. And we can see that with this government, we just out of a lot of economic crisis that we inherited, because this is the first time the government of Nigeria will remove fuel subsidy. We were producing oil, but we were not refining them. So now Nigeria, we have refined products, and we're not importing fuel like before. So our exchange rates are stabilizing. The country is moving forward. We're trying to make sure that insecurity we can tackle. And the president has even changed the service chiefs. They've replaced them with new ones. So we're looking at reforms. In November, because of what is going on and the world concern about Nigerian Christians, the government my husband declared a state of emergency on the 26th November 2026 and on insecurity. And by that, what did he do? He had to ask the police inspector general to recruit additional 50,000 police officers. And then the soldiers, 24,000 officers, so that they can help in, to secure insecurity. And not only that, there are 10,000 forest guards that were not carrying arms before. It said they should be armed so that they can secure the forest where all those terrorist groups, take hiding, and so that, and also the bandits and people that are, killing for ransom or asking people, kidnapping for ransom rather. So those are the target. And also not only that, 11,566 police officers that were under VIP assignments have been recalled. So that, and they've been sent to all the hotspot areas in Nigeria, like Plateau State, Benue State, Taraba, and also other communities that they felt that they needed. So, and that's what, has been happening. So we hear what the world is saying.
And that was a detailed explanation by the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Does that explain what, you were saying that the president is not sharing what has been done to combat insecurity? She was talking there of the deployment of forest guards and a number of things that the presidency has done.
Well, let me start by saying congratulations to the First Lady. At least now she was recognized by President Donald Trump of the U.S. And that means that she has, as she said, she has global recognition. So congratulations to her. But she said the husband, Mr. President, declared a state of emergency last year on insecurity. And of course, read out what was done, said 11,000, more than 11,000 policemen have been withdrawn from big men and reassigned, and all that. Recruitment of a certain number of policemen. The question to ask is that after the rhetoric of state of emergency on insecurity, what has happened since then? It was after that that 177 people were kidnapped in southern Kaduna that I talked about earlier. Almost 200 people were murdered in Woro, the community, in Kiama local government, in Kwara State.
And yet, everything is going on with business as usual. Let's hold on a little bit. We need to go on a very quick break. We'll come back and, expand the conversation further. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the papers, and Mr. Mechi, we're speaking to the reality of what is in Nigeria, the numbers of scores of people who have been killed in Kwara State. How in all of this, is business as usual.
Just yesterday also, 9 Christians were kidnapped from a Catholic church in Benue State. So there is no single day, since the declaration of state of emergency on insecurity that you don't see a spike in this menace. So you ask yourself, yes, declaration was made, yeah, okay, how many of those new policemen that the president...
And forest guards.
How many of them have been employed? Have they been recruited? So when these guys go and make the statements that will never be fulfilled one way or the other, and the First Lady is touting that as an achievement. On the ground, where have we moved from ever since that declaration? So I don't think anybody is deceived. Now we have entered into the decision that these terrorists are so emboldened that they now write letters to tell you that they are coming.
I was hearing of another letter that's been written.
And they will come. They will tell you that they are coming, and they will come. In the case of the Woro distance, they said it took almost 10 hours for the security men to get there. Imagine a people left defenseless for 10 hours. Of course, it couldn't have resulted into another thing other than the tragedy that we had on our hands by the time the guns were eventually silenced. Now, who has been arrested? So, when people talk, is it in Abuja? A lady, a lawyer, a former MBA official was just killed. There are stories. One chance bus stop, blah, blah, blah. But who did that? Can the people be prosecuted? Unless there is a deterrence. Unless people are sure. You know, when we talk, people will tell you that perhaps more people are killed in New York.
Yes.
Every year than the whole of Nigeria. But you know the difference? Even if you take the next 30 years, whoever committed that crime is sure that he will be arrested and that he will face justice. But here is that if you die, you are dead. Look at the Guchere woman that the mother was kidnapped some days ago. They are on it. And I can assure you, sooner than later, anybody who was involved in that crime will be apprehended. In Nigeria, nothing. They simply, government goes behind to pay the ransom, and they come out to tell you they have rescued them. How can you rescue?
And by paying ransom, you're making it an industry.
But they are not admitting
this criminality.
They are not admitting.
Maybe they need to start adding kidnapping figures to rebase the economy.
Because they are not admitting to payment of ransom. They've never clearly come out to say we paid ransom to
so then it's going to continue to be an endless cycle of violence and kidnapping because you're fueling the industry by not dealing with these criminals that are kidnapping people.
Nigeria is in a bad place. Nigeria is in a bad place, and that is why. Look, I think it was Barack Obama who said elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. And that is why people are clamoring for the guardrails that will guarantee free, fair, credible
and talking about free,
elections.
Fair and credible elections, let's go to our correspondent in the nation's capital, where all eyes will be on the National Assembly as they plan to have an emergency meeting today. Let's join Sagir Ibrahim, our correspondent in Abuja, to touch base with him. Sagir, good morning to you. I see you're in Abuja, around the National Assembly complex. Can you bring us up to speed with what's going on and your expectations for today?
Good morning, always good morning, Joe. Good morning, Joe. Good morning to the guests in the studio. So today, there's going to be a lot of focus on the National Assembly today, particularly the Senate, due to an emergency sitting that's scheduled by 12 p.m. this afternoon. Expectation is that clarifications would be made on the contentious Electoral Act amendment and the issue of the electronic transmission of results. This has been the focus of Nigerians for quite a while now. So yesterday, members of civil society groups, several civil society groups and also opposition members, were out here on the street in front of the National Assembly to drive home the point. Everybody calling for transparency. Now, it's not just the amendment in terms of transmission, there's also the issue of reducing preparation time for elections. It has been reduced from 360 days, a time frame according to INEC and even many civil society actors is not enough as it were, 350 days. At the moment now, that has been reduced in the new amendment to 180 days, which they also say cannot stand. So these are the issues of the front burner, and right now I'm in front of the National Assembly entrance, and I must say that there's the presence of quite a number of police and security operatives, counted about 10 to 15 or thereabout police trucks right in front, position at the two entrances leading into the entrance of the National Assembly. Expectations, maybe they are here, maybe because people expect there might be some form of demonstration today. Others say maybe it's to forestall the breakdown of any form of activity while the emergency planning is going on. But whatever the case is, the situation right now is that security is here on the ground. No activity has started as of right now from the outside. Planning is expected to happen by 12 p.m. And maybe within the course of the day, we'll see events develop. But for right now, News Central is here on the ground. Our eyes are open, and we'll be bringing the information should there be any developments to your states.
Well, thank you very much, Sergey, for bringing us that update. News Central is always on ground to bring the latest information. And we hope that everything turns out well, no one is hurt, and that the voice of the people will become the voice of God.
Thank you very much, Secure. And while you proceed, you can pick one of those flowers in the spirit of Valentine's Day and give it to the love of your life.
Well, them is to calm down their blood pressure.
No problem. Nice advice, Benga.
Happy Valentine's Day in advance.
Benga.
Happy Valentine's Day to all of you in the studio.
Anyway, thank you so much again. As we look forward to wrap up, we have barely just 3 minutes to go. Mr. Kechuku, the big story, unfortunately, like we said, there's no bigger story than what we've seen here. But I wanted to go to the Nigerian Tribune in 2 minutes, if you can help us with that. It says, Appeal Court upholds Natasha's suspension, says Senate acted within its powers. That story was big yesterday. It also came out on the niche.
Yeah, what do I say? The courts, in their wisdom, said that suspending Senator Natasha was within the powers of the Senate president. I'm not too sure that what was in question was whether the Senate has the capacity to discipline one of its members if he or she errs. That was not the issue. The issue was whether they have the reason to suspend somebody for 6 months. I'm not too sure that the Senate rules says that somebody could be suspended for that
long.
And because, why is it so? This woman or any lawmaker represents a constituency. It then means that when you suspend the person for 6 months, you have suspended that constituency, as it were, for 6 months. So what was at stake all this while was not whether Senator Natasha could be disciplined if she has breached any of the Senate protocols, but whether that sanction could stay for that long, I think, is the issue. But now that the courts have ruled, I'm not too sure whether Senator Natasha will have the appetite to go to Supreme Court and to challenge that decision. I'm not too sure.
I think she's divided with the electoral reform. That's where she will be focused on now.
I'm not too sure that she will have that appetite not to do so. But the truth of the matter is that right now we have much bigger problems that should concern Nigerians.
All right.
And not whether the Senate has the right to discipline one of his own if he or she errs.
Speaking of bigger problems, let's wrap up by taking comments on YouTube. Pius Amako says, good morning, wonderful team of News Central. I greet you all specially. Too many issues on ground today, but let me start with the First Lady's speech. The speech would have been better if he didn't complete that. He said it's also an indictment on this government that the most populous black nation can't fix its own insecurity issues. As for the issue of the electronic transmission, I hope the National Assembly does the right thing today. After yesterday's protest, they should know that people are not smiling Have a beautiful day, please. Thank you, Pius and Marco. Have a beautiful day, too. And Olumide Alade says, the analyst noted that the president did not outline his achievements yesterday. However, one could argue that his most visible achievement so far has been drawing more governors and legislators into his political camp.
It's also an achievement, you know.
It appears that his first term, is largely being used to position himself for a second term. Sadly, Nigeria bears the cost of his political focus. Thank you, Olumide Alade. Thank you,
brilliant,
Pius and Marco. We can see our earlier guests who disagreed with our, earlier comments disagreeing with our guests regarding the
River State.
No, not River State. The INEC saying that INEC does not have the facility to carry out real-time transmission in real time. Do you agree with that?
I don't. Only, we continue cutting slack now for these guys, assuming without
considering
this and that. Look, like Amadu said, that we don't have network in 9 states. What should a serious country be doing?
Invest in putting in the network in these states to ensure that this can happen. Now we have to get out of the studio.
How can that be an excuse to continue? Okay, even if we don't do it this time, the next 4 years, it will be back
to come back again. So let's start now. So we can
Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We have to go now.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, and happy Valentine's Day in advance.